reminds us that when God provides, He does so with intention, timing, and purpose that often unfolds quietly rather than dramatically. Divine provision is not meant to inflate the ego, but to strengthen the spirit. When money comes from God, it rarely arrives as a trophy to be waved before others. Instead, it comes as a sacred trust. God's blessings are deliberate, carefully woven into the rhythm of your life, arriving at moments when your heart, character, and spiritual maturity are ready to carry them. This quietness is not a sign of smallness. It is a sign of divine precision. God does not need noise to reveal His power. He moves subtly, often softly, to teach you dependence, reverence, and stewardship. When God provides, He is not only meeting a need, but also shaping your inner world. The quiet nature of His provision protects you from pride, comparison, and unnecessary attention. He knows that public blessings can draw envy, distraction, or spiritual attacks. So He sometimes chooses to bless you privately to develop your wisdom before your wealth becomes visible. This silent season allows you to grow roots of discipline, gratitude, and discernment. Without roots, any blessing becomes unstable. That is why God often provides quietly, not to hide His work, but to secure your foundation. Divine provision also teaches you to recognize God's hand rather than your own. When blessings come loudly and publicly, it becomes easy to attribute them to personal effort, connections, or luck. But when they come quietly, almost gently, you are more able to see the fingerprints of God. The quietness becomes a teacher, reminding you that your source is not the world, not opportunity, and not human favor. Your source is God alone. This understanding deepens your relationship with Him, cultivating a humility that prepares you for larger responsibilities ahead. Money that comes from God is never random. It is strategic, aligned with your purpose, and positioned to elevate not just your financial life, but your spiritual maturity. Quiet provision forces you to slow down, listen, and pay attention to the direction God is pointing you toward. Instead of rushing to announce your blessing, you learn to ask, Lord, what is this provision meant for? What should I build? Who should I help? What should I protect? That posture of inquiry is what turns ordinary wealth into a divine assignment. The quiet nature of God's provision also shields you from premature exposure. Not everyone is meant to know what God is doing in your life, especially in the early stages. Silence becomes a layer of protection, ensuring that the blessing grows strong before it is seen. It teaches you to value privacy over performance, wisdom over noise, and stewardship over showmanship. In this way, God's quiet provision becomes an invitation to maturity, inviting you to walk with Him in stillness, clarity, and purpose. Silence is one of the greatest protectors of the blessings God places in your hands. When money or any form of increase comes from God, it arrives with a spiritual assignment, and that assignment can be compromised when it is exposed too early to the noise of the world. Silence is not secrecy rooted in fear. Silence is wisdom rooted in understanding. It is knowing that not every blessing is meant to be broadcast. Not every breakthrough should be public, and not every testimony should be shared before its time. Wisdom teaches that noise attracts attention, and attention often attracts complications. When God entrusts you with something valuable, silence becomes a shield that keeps the blessing pure protected, and focused. There are moments in life when sharing too much too soon can bring unnecessary criticism or envy. People who do not understand the process behind your blessing may judge it, question it, or even try to interfere with it. Silence guards you from these external forces. It creates a safe environment for your blessing to grow. When God gives you something, part of the wisdom you must exercise is learning when to speak and when to remain quiet. Silence allows you to discern the intentions of others, identify who truly supports your journey, and recognize who might misuse the information you reveal. It gives you time to strengthen your foundation before anyone else weighs in on it. Moreover, silence trains your spirit. It builds discipline and helps you focus on God rather than public validation. When you receive money or provision from God and immediately run to announce it, the focus can shift from God's goodness to your excitement or pride. Silence recenters the heart. It reminds you that the blessing is not a performance, it is a responsibility. Keeping quiet allows you to reflect, pray, and seek direction on how the blessing should be used. In that stillness, God often provides further clarity, guiding you on how to manage, protect, and multiply what He has placed in your hands. Another dimension of silence is the humility it cultivates. When you refrain from speaking loudly about what God has given you, you show that your identity is not tied to your possessions or success. You demonstrate maturity by refusing to flaunt what others may not yet have. Silence is a posture of gratitude that whispers, "This blessing is from God, and I honor Him by carrying it with humility." It also helps you avoid unnecessary pressure. The moment you announce something publicly, expectations arise. People start watching, measuring, and sometimes even waiting for your blessing to fail. But when you stay quiet, you give yourself space to grow without the weight of public scrutiny. Silence also allows God to be the one who reveals your blessing in His timing. There are moments when God desires to showcase His work in your life, but He wants to do it on His terms, not yours. When you stay quiet, you allow God to bring your blessing into the light. At the moment, it will have the greatest impact. Silence becomes a spiritual strategy that aligns your life with divine timing, divine protection, and divine wisdom. When money comes from God, it is never given just to increase your comfort. It's given to expand your responsibility. Divine provision always carries purpose, and with purpose comes the calling to manage it wisely. When God entrusts you with wealth, He is also entrusting you with influence, opportunity, and the power to shape the lives of others. This is why such blessings must be carried with maturity. Money in the hands of someone who is spiritually unprepared can become a trap. But money in the hands of someone aligned with God's heart becomes a tool for transformation. God's gifts are not meant to inflate your ego, but to sharpen your character. They call you to rise to a higher level of stewardship where your decisions reflect wisdom, compassion, and spiritual discernment. Divine wealth is not ordinary wealth. It is sacred because its assignment is connected to God's kingdom. This means that when God provides, He expects you to use the blessing with intention. You must look beyond personal desires and ask, what does God want me to do with this? Sometimes the answer is to sow into someone's life. Sometimes it is to build something meaningful. Sometimes it is to save, protect, or multiply the resource for future impact. Whatever the assignment, divine wealth calls you to think beyond yourself. It pushes you to consider others, to consider the future, and to consider how God's purpose can flow through your life. With responsibility also comes accountability. When God blesses you, He watches how you handle the increase. He observes whether you remain humble or allow pride to take root. He watches whether you stay faithful in service or become distracted by comfort. Money tests your heart in ways that trials never can. Trials push you to depend on God, but blessings test whether you will continue depending on Him after the pressure is gone. That is why divine wealth requires spiritual maturity, because only a matured heart can carry the weight of increase without losing sight of the giver. Responsibility also means using the blessing in ways that align with God's principles. Money from God is not meant to fuel reckless spending, showmanship, or competition. It is meant to promote stability, generosity, and growth. It calls you to manage your finances with discipline, to avoid wastefulness, and to make decisions that reflect wisdom rather than impulse. When God gives you something, He expects you to protect it, invest it wisely, and ensure that nothing He has placed in your hands is misused. This requires planning, prayer, and a willingness to say no to things that do not align with your purpose. Divine wealth also positions you as a vessel of God's kindness. When you handle money with responsibility, you become an extension of God's provision to others. Your blessing becomes a bridge that lifts others, supports meaningful work, and opens doors for those who cannot open them for themselves. This is why God looks for trustworthy hearts, because He wants to funnel His blessings through people who will use them with integrity and compassion. When you embrace the responsibility that comes with divine provision, you align yourself with God's greater plan, allowing His purpose to move through your life with power and intention. Not every blessing God gives you is meant to be displayed, discussed, or demonstrated in front of others. Some breakthroughs are sacred, delicate, and deeply personal, and they carry a level of spiritual significance that cannot survive public exposure too soon. When God blesses you in private, it often means He is shaping something within you before He reveals something through you. These hidden blessings are part of His divine strategy to prepare your character, strengthen your discernment, and protect the purpose attached to the gift. Some blessings are meant to mature in silence, the way a seed grows underground before it breaks through the surface. If you expose the seed too early, you sabotage its future. In the same way, prematurely sharing what God is doing can damage the very breakthrough He intended to bless you with. There are seasons when God instructs you to hold your blessing quietly because the people around you may not understand it. Some might misinterpret it, minimize it, or even speak against it. Not every person in your life has the spiritual maturity to celebrate what God is doing for you. Some may feel threatened, jealous, or resentful. Others may project fear or doubt onto what God has trusted you with. This is why God often keeps certain blessings hidden until the right time. He does not want the voices of others to contaminate what He is cultivating in you. Silence becomes a shield protecting your blessing from the negativity, confusion, or spiritual interference that could weaken its impact. There are also blessings that require privacy because God wants you to hear Him clearly without the influence of outside opinions. When a breakthrough is fresh, your heart is sensitive. This sensitivity is meant to draw you closer to God, to let Him guide your next steps, and to anchor you in His will. But if you expose the blessing too soon, the opinions of others can drown out the voice of God. They can pressure you into decisions that are misaligned with God's plan. Keeping quiet allows you to stay centered, focused, and spiritually balanced while God continues shaping the direction of your blessing. Furthermore, some blessings are not for public celebration because their purpose is not about impressing others, but about transforming you. These sacred breakthroughs are meant to heal, strengthen, correct, or elevate you from within. They are designed to draw you deeper into spiritual maturity, teaching you humility, gratitude, and responsibility. If you rush to share them, you might shift the focus from God's work in your heart to seeking validation from people. This shift can weaken the spiritual growth God intends for you. There are blessings that are so precious, so uniquely crafted for your journey, that they must remain between you and God until the season of revelation. When God finally chooses to reveal them, He does so in a way that brings glory to His name, not noise to your reputation. Until that moment arrives, the greatest wisdom you can exercise is to hold the blessing gently, guard it carefully, and allow God to complete His work in the hidden place. True prosperity is not measured by the amount of money you have, but by the maturity of the heart that carries it. When money comes from God, it requires a level of spiritual growth that goes beyond excitement or relief. It demands discernment, discipline, and a deep sense of gratitude. Many people pray for increase, but not everyone is prepared for what comes with it. Divine prosperity is not only a blessing, it is a responsibility that tests your character, your motives, and your focus. Without spiritual maturity, money can become a distraction, a temptation, or even a source of downfall. But with maturity, it becomes a tool that aligns your life with God's purpose. Spiritual maturity teaches you to discern what is from God and what is simply a desire of the flesh. When you are spiritually grounded, you do not chase after wealth blindly, nor do you allow money to dictate your worth or identity. Instead, you view every blessing through the lens of purpose. You ask yourself, is this aligned with God's will? Is this meant to grow me? Is this something I am ready to handle? Maturity helps you remain stable, grounded, and focused even when increase arrives. It gives you the ability to manage wealth without letting wealth manage you. Another dimension of maturity is discipline. Money requires management. Without discipline, blessings can slip away as quickly as they come. God often tests whether you can handle small amounts before He entrusts you with more. Discipline teaches you to budget wisely, avoid impulsive decisions, and remain responsible in both lack and abundance. It teaches you to plan, to save, and to invest in ways that align with your purpose. Immaturity wastes what maturity multiplies. When money comes from God, the expectation is that you will treat it with care, not casually or recklessly. Gratitude also plays a major role in true prosperity. A mature heart remains thankful, recognizing that every good thing comes from God. Gratitude protects you from entitlement, pride, and comparison. It keeps your spirit soft and humble, allowing you to appreciate the blessing without worshiping the blessing. When you are grateful, you remain connected to the giver, not merely the gift. This connection anchors your heart, keeping you from drifting into selfishness or spiritual forgetfulness. Gratitude becomes a guardrail that helps you use your resources responsibly and generously. Spiritual maturity also gives you the wisdom to understand timing. Not every opportunity is from God, and not every financial door should be walked through. Mature believers know how to wait, how to pray, and how to move only when God gives clarity. They do not make decisions out of fear, pressure, or impatience. Instead, they make decisions based on discernment and peace. This level of wisdom ensures that the blessing is not only received, but also protected and preserved. True prosperity requires a heart that is anchored in God, not in wealth. When your spirit is mature, money becomes a servant, not a master. It becomes a means to fulfill purpose, help others, and bring honor to God through the way you live and the choices you make.